You know, one of the things about Real Church when we opened, we realized that we weren't going to be the fanciest church that you ever went to. There's no stained glass or steeples. We weren't going to be the most prestigious church full of rich people or all that kind of stuff. But we made a commitment from the day the doors were open that there'd be no place that would have a greater presence of love. And this is a church that's built on love. And we want you to know this morning that we love you. And if you're from the greater Detroit area, that stretches, take it all the way down to the bottom of Ohio, all the way to the east coast and west. If you're from the greater Detroit area and you don't have a church home, we'd like to say to you, welcome home.
I was in youth ministry in Indiana and also involved in traveling ministry, which takes me all over the world doing schools and different programs. And so in Indiana, I'd been there for about 2 years, and we had taken a small group of teenagers of about 25 to a group of teenagers of between 500 and 600. And so it was an amazing move of God and an awesome time just for us to be involved in ministry. And so God said, you know, use that group of people to launch a church. And so I began to pray and say, God, where, you know, and I contacted the national office for the Assemblies of God, and I'm an Assembly of God minister. And so I said, listen, I feel like God wants me to plant a church. I'm not really telling you where. I just know it's supposed to be in a city, in a multicultural type setting. And I gave them some of the specifics. And they had a lot of options for me. You know, New York City had an opportunity for me, and Seattle, Washington had an opportunity, and I had an opportunity in Belfast, Northern Ireland. And at that time, Detroit and Hamtramck hadn't even kind of registered. And I began to talk and pray with one of my good friends, whose name is Tim Delina, and he has pastored Revival Tabernacle in Highland Park, Michigan, which is, you know, 3 miles away from us here, and has been there over 10 years, and he planted a church there. And he said, Chili, man, I'm just so excited. And he said, there's an opportunity up here in Hamtramck. Have you heard of that? And I said, well, no, I haven't. I've been to Detroit many times in Highland Park working with him and doing outreach and doing a program called War Week. And so I said, but, you know, I'm open to anything. And so he said, let me set up a meeting with you and our district church planning director, and you know, we'll just talk about it. And they said, there is a building there that we can make available to you if you're interested. And I was getting ready to go and speak at a really large youth convention for the Mariana Islands, which is in the South Pacific, almost to Asia, which is Guam, Saipan, Tinian, and Rota. And I was going to be flying to Guam, and I just thought, you know what, God, I'm going on a missions trip. And God always speaks on missions trips. So he'll tell me then. I'll be walking down the Sunset Beach, and God will say, Hamtramck, or he'll say whatever.